Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced from alexmercedcoder.com, and in this video what I'm going to do is create an Express API, hopefully, and just kind of walk through the whole process step by step, pretty quickly, but just to show you sort of from beginning to end what it looks like. So I'm going to create a new folder, so I'm literally doing this from scratch. Whoop, don't want to create a new folder in there. I want to create it in the main area. So new folder. I'm going to call this test 4. And then I'm going to go open up that folder in my terminal. So this folder is open up in my terminal. I'm going to touch some files. So I'm going to touch server.js, .env, .gitignore. So all my normal setup files. Okay, so now when I open up this folder, I have all those files in there. .env, again, this is where I'm going to put my environmental variables. So I always want to define my port 3000, why not? And then my node, my environment variable, node env equals development, because this is local, so this is my development environment. Okay, so that's done. Gitignore, I always want to put my node modules folder so that doesn't get committed. Okay, and then I also want to put .env so that doesn't get pushed up either. So that's done. Okay, then I'm going to do npm init-y to get my package.json file. Okay, that is created, so now I got my package.json. So now I want to install my dependencies, npm I want to install Express. I want to install Morgan for logging. I want to install Nodamon for development purposes. I want to install... let's just do cores for now. And then let's do anything else I want. I'm feeling this. Oh, .env. Okay, so that way I can use that .env file. So, boop. Let that all install. Okay, so those I've installed. So those should all be in my package.json now. So see my dependencies. There's all that stuff I installed. Then I can go create some scripts. Okay, so I always like to have my start script. Okay, and that's gonna just be node server.js, and then dev nodamon server.js. Okay, so that's all set up. Done with that. And now we can start putting together our server.js. So first thing I want to do is bring in my dependencies. So first I'm going to bring in Express const. Well, actually first I'll do .env. So require .env .config. So it's going to bring in my .env files. Okay, then const express equals require express. Okay, that brings in the Express library. Then I create my Express app object. So const app equals express. And then I want to bring in Morgan. So const Morgan equals require Morgan. And const cores equals require course. So we bring in all that. Okay. Then here's going to be my global data and variables. So I want to bring in my stuff from my .env here and put them in their own variables. So I'm going to do const. I'm going to use object destructuring. So that's going to be port and node env. I want to grab from there. So that'll destructure these variables from my process.env object. Okay, nice. Then here we'll do our cores configuration. Again, cores. Think of cores as like actually a student had a really great analogy. It's like a bouncer. It tells which websites can access your website or not. So that's what this does, cores configuration. For that, I always just refer to the cores documentation and just copy right from there. So let me head over to npmjs.com. Let's go look up cores. Okay, and on cores, if we click here, we'll scroll down. You'll see all the documentation. There's a couple different ways you can do it. And I want to do it this way. This is the one that generally seems to work for me. So this example where it's like the array, the whitelist array and whatnot. So I'm just going to copy that over. Back to, I see here. I don't like having all these different screens, but whatever. Okay, so I'm going to just copy this and paste that right into there. I just like to change these to const. Don't like having these declared as vars. Scoping. Okay. So I just leave that as is for the moment. Okay. Then we're going to lock in our middleware. Always the first thing you want is your cores middleware. So app.use. Okay. Cores. Right. And then, yeah. Cores. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to basically make it where it allows. So I'm going to do a ternary operator. So I'm just going to do if node env equals development, which it will, it's going to run this version of app.use, which means that any website can make an API request. But if it's not development, meaning in my production environment, it'll then use app.use cores, and then we'll pass in our cores options object. So this object over here from our what we took over from the documentation, cores options, put that in there, and then that configures it to only allow the websites we put in our waitlist. Okay, so that's our first piece of middleware, because I wanted to check if you have permission to access anything, and if you don't have permission, why bother doing anything else? So that's why you want to put that first, because why have your server do stuff for websites that are not allowed anyways? Then I want to make sure that I parse any JSON. So app.use express.json. So that parses the JSON from request bodies. Yep, there we go. Express.json. I want to make sure there's logging. So I'm going to do app.use Morgan. And there's different ways to set up the logging. I'm going to just use the dev parameter. So if you go to the Morgan documentation, you can find out like there's dev, there's simple, tiny, combined. There's a bunch of different ones that determine how much information it gives you. Okay, so and then I'm not going to bother with app. Well, I'll just put it, but I won't need it. App.use. This is just to have a static folder. So express.static public. This would set up a folder called public as my static folder. Which I'm not currently going to use, but it's there in my middleware. Okay, so I think that's pretty good there. Over here will be my routes. And then over here will be my listener. And then my listener will be app.listen. Port. Console.log. Let's do that with backticks. Listening on port. Okay. Save. Okay, so we got our basics of our server going set. Now we want to do like an MVC type setup, so we need to create our folders. So I'm going to create a new folder called models. That will be where our data is. Then we're going to have a new folder called routes. That's where we'll put our handlers. And then we'll have a new folder called controllers where we'll put our routes. Okay, which we'll pull from our handlers. Whew. So first, let's create some data. So I'm going to go in this file, new file. We're just going to create a people.js. Okay, and then we just do const people equals an array, and it's going to be an objects of people. So first one will be name, will just be me, Alex Merced, age 35. Then another object, name Bob, age 45. Okay, and then we want to export that piece of data. So module.exports, and it's going to equal people. There we go. So that's done. We have data coming out of there. Cool. So now I want to go to my routes to create my routes file, new file, which is going to be people.js, but in the routes folder, people.js. This is where we're going to put our handlers, but I need to access the people data. So const people equals require upper folder slash models slash people.js. Okay, so that gives us the availability. And then I'm just going to create the very first route. So, first route handler. Okay, and then basically each of these, so this is going to be my index route, which gets all the different things. So again, every handler always has to take in request and response. So recres equals, and we're just sending everything back. So it's just res.json people. And while I'm here, let me just do the show route. Const show equals request res. We're going to assume that we're going to take a URL param for index. So show, what we're going to do here is I'm going to actually destructure the yeah, let's do this. Res.json, it would just be people, and then the index will just be rec.params.index. It'll just show me that person. Now I need to export these two functions. So module.exports equals an object with all my functions in it. So right now I just have index and show. Okay, so that allows those two functions to be exported. Save. Now I'm going to send that over to my controllers folder. So now I need to make a controller. So new file, controllers.js. And in my controllers.js, I'm going to do const express. Actually, we want to just get the router function from express. So const router equals require express. And we want to create a new router object. So I'm going to say const router equals new router. And we're good there because the array is being handled where the functions exist. So now I can just create my routes. So router.get our show route, our index route. So slash, and actually we need to pull in those functions from my routes. So const index and show. I'm going to destructure that from the object being exported in /routes/people.js. Okay, so now those two functions are available. So I just go index router.get /. Show. Okay, and then there's our two routes so far. And again, this needs to have an index param. Cool. Okay. Now we need to connect this controller, and I need to export the router. So module.exports equals router. So that exports the router. So then we're going to export that into server.js. So I need to go back over here to dependencies. Const people router equals require /controllers/people.js. So that imports the router from the controller. And now we're going to just create that routes over here. Routes app.use. I'm going to say we're going to use this route for the endpoint /people. And we're going to use the people router. So anytime anyone puts a URL that ends in /people, it'll get sent over to the people router, and then the people router will then hit the endpoint, then run this function, and that function is defined over here. And then this function plays with the array, which is defined over here. Okay, so that's our deal so far. So now we should have the first couple routes of our API already working. So if I go to npm run dev, let's see. Oh, I made some sort of mistake. Let's see here. We cannot find module controllers people.js. Okay, that sounds like it's from server.js. Controllers. Oh, I called the file controllers.js. My bad. Let me rename that. Rename people.js. There we go. And that's working. So now let's go back to the browser. Okay, and let's go to localhost 3000. Again, I didn't make a route for the root, but I did make a route for /people. And see, it got me all my people, Alex and Bob. Now, what if I just want to get Bob? I can put in a number, so we'll put 1. That'd be the second person, which is Bob. And that should get me just Bob. Okay, so we've already created the first 2 routes of our API. Okay, not so bad. So, okay. Now, let's add some more routes. First, we'll just add the functions. So we'll go to the functions here and create our functions. So next would be our create route. So const create equals rec res equals, and then basically we're gonna imagine that you're gonna send over a JSON body, a JSON object that has the name and age of a new person. So all I'm gonna do is just literally just push that into the array. So it's just gonna be people.push rec.body. Okay, I'm just gonna push that object right into the body, and then we'll just send you back the full thing, people. Okay, now you have a create route. Okay, and let me open up Postman so we can try that out. If you don't have Postman, you should download it. It's very useful. Okay, so here's Postman. Let's make this feel big. Let's make a new window, so let me just close this. Start new. So we're going to first try out this create route. So I'm going to go to localhost 3000/people. And that's a post request. We're going to create a body. So we want to create a JSON body. Okay, so we need to create a JSON body. And then we're going to create a JSON object. Okay, and basically it's going to have the name of a person. So name Claudio Sanchez, lead singer from Coheed & Cambria, my favorite band. Comma, age, I have no idea. I assume he's not that much older than me. So I'm going to say he's maybe 6 years older than me, so we'll say 41. Time flies by. Okay, or we can just Google it. So let's do that. Don't accidentally age him if I don't have to. So let's see here, Claudio Sanchez. And let's see here. He's 42. I didn't do too bad there. Okay, 42. So 42. Okay, so I'm sending it to the right route. It's a post method. It's raw JSON. We typed the raw JSON in there. So now if I hit send, okay, cannot post people. So that means I still. Oh, because I never actually created the route. I just created the function. Okay. So I need to go back to my controllers. I need to bring in the create function and actually create the route. So router.post, just the root, and then create. Okay, that's what I need to do. Something still doesn't smell right. Let's see here. Router.post. Router.post. Save. Something isn't formatting right. Create. Oh, I know. I didn't export create. I gotta add it to my exports. Create. So again, I gotta create the function, add it to my exports, Then I gotta add it to my imports, and then I can use the function. Okay. So there we go. So now my server should be running, which it is. Let me go back to Postman. Okay, and let's try this again. And that time it worked. And see, Claudio Sanchez got added. Okay, so now we add an update. So we're going to imagine that you send some information to update a particular one. So const update equals rec res. Imagine you're going to tell me which one you want to edit through an URL param. So it would be people. We want to edit the one that you tell me, so I'm going to do it through a URL param. So params.index again. And it's going to equal whatever you send me as the body of your request. So equals rec.body. And then once again, I'll have you res.json, send you back the full list of people. I'm going to add the the update function to my exports. Then I have to go back to my controllers, add the update function to my imports, and I have to create a route. So router.put / comma update. Okay. Cool. And there we go. Let's go try that out. So let's pretend I decided to update Bob. So I want to update 1. And again, this is going to be a put request because this is an update. So put raw, and then we're going to change Bob into Claudio. That's what we're going to do. Because again, once the server restarts, the array is back to just me and Bob again. Because again, this is just a hard-coded data, so the data doesn't persist. So every time the server restarts, it's like the information's back to the way it was initially. So I'm going to hit send. And cannot put people 1. So where did I go wrong here? Put people. Oh, I didn't put a param. Index. I need to put a param. There we go. Let's try that again. And there you go. See, I changed Bob into Claudio. Yay. Okay, and then last, but not least, certainly not least, we need our delete route. Okay. So we create another function. Const delete. Okay. Const delete equals rec res. Okay. And then all we're doing is we're deleting. Why is that? Oh, no, that should be right. Const delete. Why doesn't it like that? So that's like a reserved word. So we'll just call this const destroy. There we go. Const destroy. And then destroy, we're just going to call it, say, people dot splice. We're just going to remove a particular one. And we're going to remove rec.params.index again. So we're going to take a param. And we're going to only remove one item. So that'll remove the one item from the array. And res.json, we send you back the full list of people again. Okay, so then I gotta export the function. So destroy is the function, I export it. Then I gotta go back to my controllers, I gotta import it. So I add it to my imports here. Nope. Destroy. And then I make my last route, which is gonna be router.delete equals, okay, / index again. And then we pass in the destroy function. And there you go. Okay, so these are my routes. These are my route handlers, the functions that handle those routes. This is where the data is coming from. And my server receives that controller and routes that controller. So let's try delete. Let's delete Bob. So if I hit this, I'm going to change this to a delete route. So see, I'm changing it to delete. I hit send, and see, now it's only me. Bob is gone. Okay, no Bob. Okay, so that's me creating an API, a full CRUD API in Express within 25 minutes. So yeah, hopefully that is helpful. And again, as you can see, we're having all the nice little Morgan logs, and we're good to go. So I'll see you guys later on. Have a great one. Enjoy. Ciao.